Welcome to the true, ridiculous, and absolutely humbling story of the Great Emu War, often called the day Australia lost a bird. It is 1932. The world is deep in the Great Depression, and struggling Australian farmers in the outback faced a crisis unlike any other. Men were broke, hungry, and desperate. But their biggest threat wasn't financial ruin. It was something feathered. The crisis came from a staggering 20,000 emus, which migrated annually through Western Australia, treating the new wheat fields as a free buffet. These birds trampled fences, ate crops, and left total destruction, leading the desperate farmers to write to the government and beg for military intervention. This is the setup for one of the most absurd military campaigns in history: the farmers versus the fallow. The farmers were tough veterans of World War I, but the emu migration was destroying the very wheat fields they had spent years building since returning home. The government's solution was to send in the Royal Australian Artillery, armed not with diplomacy, but with Lewis machine guns. November 1932, round one of the Great Emu War commenced, and the embarrassment started immediately. Major G.P.W. Meredith arrived with 2 soldiers, 2 Lewis machine guns, and 10,000 rounds of ammunition, 10,000 rounds for birds. When the soldiers finally engaged a large flock, the emus didn't panic. They scattered into small groups across the open ground, becoming nearly impossible targets. The soldiers chased the birds in military vehicles, but in a truly humbling moment, the emus simply outran the trucks. What the military failed to realize was just how tough their opponent was. Emus are basically unkillable. Soldiers reported emptying half a magazine into a single emu before it finally went down, their dense feathers and thick bodies acting as natural armor against the bullets. Most alarmingly, observers noted the emus seemed to be using tactics, with scouts breaking the flock into smaller groups whenever soldiers approached, making coordinated fire impossible. As the war dragged on, the nation's newspapers were having a field day, turning the entire operation into a national embarrassment. Headlines mocked the operation, and the Minister of Defense was publicly nicknamed the Minister for the Emu War, a deeply embarrassing label. After 12 days of combat, and an embarrassing ratio of bullets used to emus killed, the military was ordered to pull out, leaving the emus victorious in round 1. The farmers called for help again, and the military returned for round 2, which led to a similarly humiliating conclusion. Though round 2 was slightly better, the results were still deeply embarrassing, and the military withdrew permanently. The official result: emus victorious. Australia defeated. The natural world did not care about the machine gun. The real solution, which should have been obvious from day one, was simply to build better fences, a much cheaper and less embarrassing approach.